Hey, what's up everybody? Chris here, and I really want a Dreamcast 2. I was sitting here with my coffee this morning thinking about video games, as I often do, and sort of wondered, what systems don't we have right now that I wish were a thing? And again, the Dreamcast was one of my favorite systems ever. It's the first system that I actually ever saved up my own money to buy. So it came out when I was in high school. I had a job at a department store, so I saved up my money, went and got it, much to my parents' dismay. At the time, I think it was a $199 system. I'll fact check that and add a note here if needed. But it cost a good bit of money. I bought it. I got Soul Calibur with it upon release, and I was totally blown away. I still think it was a system that was way ahead of its time, and it may have suffered a little bit from that. Obviously, there were some other things that impacted it, such as the ability, as people later figured out, to burn games for it and not have to actually buy the games. I think that was ultimately the downfall. But of course, the arrival of the PS2 and GameCube and Xbox and all of that kind of, created sort of a confluence of factors that maybe led to its destruction, so to speak. But I really wish we had a follow-up to that system. Now, will that ever happen? Probably not. I think Sega's not in a position, at least currently, to have sort of the capital to launch a new piece of hardware like that. But I think if they ever did, it would have a huge following. But when you look at things like the Atari VCS, right, this new Atari system that's been launched, and some other sort of attempts to bring back older systems, a lot of times it really does just kind of, fizzle out and falter. But if they had a lineup that really stood out and sort of emphasized, the quality of yesteryear that really came to define the Dreamcast, I think it could be kind of amazing. And I've made a list here of some of the games that I loved. I talked about Soul Calibur. I sank so much time into that game. I used to get home from school, I would do my homework, or if I had track practice, I used to run track in high school, believe it or not, many eons ago. I would come back from that, I would play it for hours, and go to bed, go to school, kind of wash, rinse, repeat, do the same sort of thing. But it was such a fun game. It was a beautiful game. It really kind of gave me a glimpse of what graphics could be. At the time, it was silky smooth. It looked, of course not photorealistic, but much more realistic than anything I had seen. And again, one of my favorite fighting games and one of the best games ever, in my opinion. Along with that, there was Power Stone, which I thought was a really fun game. I got a lot of sort of use out of that. And actually, when I went from high school to college, I bought my Dreamcast because it was still sort of in vogue at the time, and played a lot of Power Stone with people in the dorm, as well as Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's how I met some of my great friends that I still keep in touch with, was Marvel vs. Capcom. And so, again, as far as fighting games go, I think the Dreamcast was sort of the premier system. I think the Saturn had a lot of that too, but the Dreamcast really sort of made that a Sega staple, so to speak. Crazy Taxi was a game that I played a ton of. Sonic Adventure was great. So, the list really kind of goes on, and it's a shame that the system, again, just really kind of got lost to history as PlayStation essentially sort of overtook it, as did Xbox and some other things. But one thing that it did especially well, kind of reflecting back on this, or not especially well, but I guess introduced it as sort of a thing that was, slowly kind of creeping into the mainstream, was online play. I remember it had sort of a dial-up phone connection in the back, and you could get online and browse and do that sort of stuff. And again, late in the late 90s or so, doing that sort of thing on a console was novel. I mean, of course, doing it on a PC was still kind of a slow process. And if you're my age, you remember America Online and all of that. But the Dreamcast was so far ahead of its time. And, part of me wishes they would just release a Dreamcast Mini. I mean, I would love that. I would buy it, just like I did the NES Mini, SNES Mini, the Genesis Mini. I would totally buy that, and I think it'd be great. That'd be a cool kind of holiday time period sort of release. But if there's any way that Sega could maybe partner with someone to develop a second Dreamcast, man, I would be all over it. It would be awesome. But anyway, let me know what you think. If you had a Dreamcast, comment below. If you ever played one, let me know what you think about it. I do, kind of wonder, revisiting it now, what it would look like and how well it would play. My local retro video game store has, several of them for sale, and I've thought about getting one, but it just is one of those things that I feel like if I got, I would play once or twice, and then it would sit there and collect dust. But I don't know, maybe it's worth revisiting. Let me know what you think, and as always, thanks for watching.